Welcome back, CoinOPS fans. This is PixelFreak from the CoinOPS Project Discord. Excited to let you know about the impending release of Legends 4. This is a very mature build, and what I mean by that is you keep seeing series after series, Legends 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're up to Legends 4, and it is finally a fully mature build. These builds, instead of patching them as you go along, new builds come out, because not only does content usually get added, but themes, other optimizations, and other issues get fixed along the way. Instead of patching, new builds come out. And it shows the maturity of the build over time. And Legends 4, I gotta tell you, is absolutely fantastic. It clocks in at 68 gigs unpacked. It is MAME only. And it's going to have the standard full and micro XEs, either all playlists or favorites and all, so you're very familiar with that if you know anything about the Legends builds. And the new Legends 4 now has 678 games. The micro build will only show you 110 of the best. It now has themes, folders separated instead of being in the advanced configs. I do believe, unlike Forgotten Worlds, these were already in separate. But in the Legends 4, the themes, look at that, 18. You'll notice the names are a little bit different here than they are in what I'm going to show you in the GUI, because we're going to take a quick tour before I blather on about what all these different things do. However, 18 themes, all right? And there are some small distinct differences. You'll see cabinet, cabinet 2, marquee, marquee 2, wall, wall 2. And it takes a minute, but once you see the differences, it really allows the user choice. Also, if you look over here in the helper, you have, of course, your standard CoinOPS setup. You always use back and select or coin and start on arcade cabinets to exit games. That's very standard. Otherwise, they're all listed in the helper. But look over here, glass and bezels. There are now 6 different icons that are going to appear in the bottom right, because you're going to have day, dusk, which is absolutely a beautiful addition. One of my favorites, the night bezels, reflective bezels in the game, artistic bezels, realistic bezels, and single bezel. Single bezel has also been known as modern bezels previously. It's the speakers on the side. All the bezels are the same. It's a sleek look. Realistic bezels, of course, on the vert games have the cabinet wall sides, gray wall, brick wall in the back. Artistic bezels are also known most commonly from collections and the players builds. Reflective bezels in the game. The bezels themselves aren't reflective, but you get your reflection in the glass. It's usually a dull arcade background if you look at the glass instead of the standard scuff marks. Also, night bezels, that's going to put a vignette around the night bezels. It's going to give you more of a bloom of the actual play screen. And dusk bezels, it's day, but with a slightly darkened set of bezels on the side, and then day where everything's bright, standard scuffed glass. These both have scuffed glass. Again, we'll run through these, but I just wanted to let you know, Legends 4, with 18 themes, 6 glass and bezel options, and incredible extra artwork, because now this build, I'll just show you. Because not only do you basically have the full Player 3 build in here, you have the best parts of Forgotten Worlds in here, but with all the content and playlists of Legends. So, without further ado, this is the first time this has been set up. All right, all games you see down 678. Standard playlists, arcades, 633, 45 consoles. The favorites are populated at 75. There's a bat to clear those. The last played is always the 10 that have been most recently played. They're in alphabetical order, not by chronology. Old school 110, beat 'em ups 90, run and gun. Run and gun was 112, Fight Club is 76, shoot 'em ups is 135, racers 44, sports was that 38? Going too fast. Puzzler 28, and settings. There are now 19 settings. Why? Because there are 18 themes, and then this instead of just saying day night, this now says glass bezels. And I want you to take a look down on the bottom right. It is showing the dusk icon. The dusk is the actual default mode. So I'm going to leave it there so that we can take a look at it, but I think that you should see Arcade's theme. That's the smaller cabinets from the Forgotten Worlds, full cabinet view, smoky background, wheel on the right side that fades away when it's in use, arcade din in the background. Also, because this is a MAME-only build, Legends 4 will include the background music, but it's off by default, unlike Forgotten Worlds. This is skipping ahead because auto scroll is already on. Arcades 2. It's going to be the same features as arcades, except it's the larger cabinets if that's what you like. Remember, in Forgotten Worlds, you can actually tweak those specific issues because it's highly customizable. These themes, these are the two options that you have for Forgotten Worlds. The smaller cabinets in the night mode and the bigger cabinets in the night mode. Cabinet theme, everybody already knows. But look, it's very important to look at the Cabinet 1 theme. There are no in-game bezels, right? Look at Cabinet 2. The legendary bezels are now included. So if you like that look better, otherwise it's the same. Still wheel on the right, covers rotate as you go, it all crossfades. Look at the difference. Cabinet theme, Cabinet 2 theme. All right, fast theme, everybody knows it's just the Legend standard theme, but it does not crossfade the videos as you select on the horizontal top. Legends theme, that is the default. Crossfades along the horizontal selection line across the top. Full screen HD videos all completely redone since the next 2 days. Marquee theme. This is also one of the new ones. That Marquee theme is standard, but don't let me misspeak here. Marquee 2, look, same thing that Cabinet 2 did. You have the legendary bezels included in there now. Okay? None? Yes. Otherwise, it's the Marquee where they scroll up and down. Muted theme. It's great for a public area. It's just the Legends theme with the crossfading, the standard theme, but with no audio. So if you have it in a public area or you just want it to run and not bother you, say you have it in your computer room with you running all the time. Player theme, this is a big request. Notice that it is the full screen player style, but it does not use the legendary bezels. Some folks just don't like that little bit of encroachment of the bigger plastic bezel and all the beautiful artwork and cards. They want to go back to the player theme. You can do so, but Player 2 theme. Now you have the player theme with the wheel on the right instead of the horizontal bar on the top. Player 2 now includes the wheel on the right, but still using the player bezels. Understand the theme is different than the bezels. You would have to still enable artistic bezels to get the full player build. If that makes sense, I will show you. Because right now, if you just change the theme, of course, the menu, you're going to have this theme with the artistic bezels. But once you start a game, you haven't changed the bezels themselves, so you're going to have legendary bezels when you play, unless you change it. Poster theme, I think, is a highly underrated theme. I really like it because it takes 3 covers next to each other, the prior, the current, and the one to the right, and it fades away to the full screen gameplay. I got to restart it before auto scroll takes over. See that? There's 1943, but to the left and right, it shows the next and before, and then it gently fades away to go into the Legends standard theme. I think it's a nice artistic way of showcasing the game. Also some artwork you don't really notice until there it goes. Spin theme. This is the top spin theme. I've also referred to it as Smile before because of the curve. Legendary crossfades with it. Spin 2, it's just bottom. The frown, if you will. And again, legendary themes crossfade when you change the games. Vertical theme. So this is going to be the Legends default, but instead of the top horizontal, it's right vertical. It's also the fast version. It does not crossfade while you select. Wall theme just finally got added to Legends, and it's glorious. It's one of the favorite inclusions of the CoinOPS builds, but with the beautiful surprise, get your eyes on wall theme, you're used to it. Wall 2 theme. It's darkened. It's kind of the Forgotten Worlds treatment of the wall theme. All right, so we will take a look at all these, but also, of course, you have the wheel theme. Sorry, there's one more here. You've got the legendary bezels. It's a fast version, so it does not crossfade when you change games, and you've got the wheel on the right instead of just the vertical column. We'll go back and take a look at those. Glass and bezels, there are 6 options, right? They slightly change. Not only do they change whether there's a darkened vignette on the menu as you go, but it will also change whether or not there's certain glass conditions when you play, either scuffed, none, or reflective. And it can also increase bloom like at night or keep them regular at day. And again, there are 6 versions, and this will control everything from bezels in combination with glass effects, in combination with how dark the actual menu is. See, dusk, there's a slight vignette around the edges. Okay, so with that, Now, I do need to let you know, the glass and bezels aren't going to affect the wheel and wall theme in the same way that it does the others, because these are specifically shaded in a certain way, whereas these ones will be affected. Again, I'm not 100% sure whether they're affected at all, but they're already dark enough that I don't think, it's not like if you have day theme, wall 2 theme, I'm sorry, if you have day mode, I need to use the right terms, if you have day mode on, I don't think wall 2 theme is going to brighten up necessarily. So just understand that wall theme is treated a little bit differently. So with that, let's take a quick look around. We are in dusk. So see there's a slight vignette on the side. All right, legendary bezels. It's absolutely beautiful. Let's take a look at a vert game. It should have scuffed glass. It's slightly darkened around, but it's standard display. I really like this combination because it the screen is nice and bright. Okay, like you're playing on a video game, but like if you're in a cabinet, it's slightly darkened. Okay. Oh, I can't handle that whistle blaring in the background. So that's what a vert looks like. And let's look at a horror game, just so you can see the difference. I like to have an example of each. See how it's the dusk bezel on the side? You've got the scuffed glass, which you can see a lot better because there's a black background right now, and the standard brightness and bloom. So that's going to be dusk. All right. Now, I want to go through the glass and bezels because you've already seen a quick shot of the videos. So let's go over some of the effects here. The next toggle on glass and bezels is going to bring us into night mode. See the moon down on the bottom right? Now you notice there's a little heavier vignette on the menus themselves. Let's go to a vert game, 1943. I like to choose these because they have brighter bezels, and I know they're early in the list there, but see how dark the edges of the bezels are? And there's more, it's brighter bloom on the game itself, like it's nighttime. Also the glass effect, it's no longer scuffed. They're removed completely. All right, so after night, we're gonna have, see that? It's like a person in a mirror. This is gonna be the reflective. All right, so let me go to, I know this one will give me a nice black screen. Look for the reflection of the dull arcade in the screen. See that? Glass effect is on, but now you have a reflection, glass effect. Those of you that know CoinOPS know that there are individual tweaks that you can do in the advanced configs folder. This one does it for you. It gives you the darkened bezel. It gives you the reflection of the arcade, not the first person reflection. And of course, those can be changed. The reflection can be changed per usual using the bat files. If you want the first person or if you want the sharper reflection, this is the dull reflection. All right. Then let's take a look here. Next in the list. Okay, paintbrush like artistic. These are the bezels that you're familiar with seeing in, say, collections and Player 3. So if you wanted a Player themes to replicate the Player 3 build, that's what you would be using. So look here, you have a nice standard view. You've got the standard glass, standard glow, and the artistic bezels. You don't have that slightly chunkier legendary bezel. And in Player, nothing is going to encroach on the actual screen size itself. You won't have cards or art encroaching at all on the screen. All right. And I'm not going to show you all horizontal because there's no difference in the horizontal on the artistic. It's not like cabinet walls do or don't disappear, but that's different when we actually get into the eye, which is realistic bezels. And what I mean by that is, let's go over to a vert game, okay? I keep using the same ones so that you have a basis. Notice here we're in a vert game. You've got the legendary bezel that's slightly cropped in order to give the room for the cabinet walls. And in a vert game, there's enough room for you to have the arcade brick wall behind it. Standard glass, day bezel, but for the edges have a drop shadow so that it looks like you're giving that 3D effect of looking in a cabinet. And again, this is realistic on a vert game, but in realistic, I want to show you that in a horizontal game or a horror game, it is going to be different. You're going to have, see that, you're going to have the artistic bezel substituted in because there's not enough room to show that wall and cabinet wall effect with a 3D look. So vert games will look like they're in a cabinet. All right, notice there was still glass effects and it was scuffed. And then finally, I think the last one we're coming up on here is going to be what has been known by the bats as modern or full screen no art, I think is referred to in Forgotten Worlds. It's going to be the sleek speakers on the side, the same bezel for everything. Okay? Vert games get the cabinet treatment, just like realistic. You also notice that it's very dark and it's brighter on the screen, and I don't believe that there are any glass effects. It's a sleek, modern look. And just to show you the difference on a horizontal game, see that? I don't see any glass effects. And it's nice and dark, sleek, modern speakers. Kind of a unibezel for all the games. All right, so those are the 6 different modes, but I'm going to go back into Dusk. And also to let you know, I'm running this on an NVMe SSD, and I've got, I'd say a mid-range computer. So that's why it's switching so quickly. Depending on a mechanical drive and the speed and RAM that you have, it might take a little bit longer to swap those. So don't be bothered if it stays black for a little bit longer on yours. Arcade's theme. This has been a huge favorite. This is directly from Forgotten Worlds. This theme has the small cabinets, the smoke in the background, the arcade din in the background, okay? But this is the difference. In Forgotten Worlds, you would only have arcades and favorites. But look, you have all the content of Legends 4. All right, absolutely beautiful. The crossfade, and then the wheel will go away once selected. This is not as tailorable as it is in Forgotten Worlds. If that's really your thing, maybe you want to stick with Forgotten Worlds instead. But bringing the best of in a theme into Legends 4. And it also switches the controls because selection is up and down. Left and right is actually playlists. All right, so in Arcades 2, notice it will just, the only change that will be is that will be the arcades in night mode with the smoke, but the larger cabinets from Forgotten Worlds. All right. Cabinet theme, you know, I'm not going to cover in this video. However, Cabinet 2, look, the difference is now that the video snaps in the actual cabinets have legendary bezels included. Okay, see that? That's a nice new addition. All right. And then, so that's between Cabinet and Cabinet 2. And again, I'm going to flip back and forth just so you can see. No legendary bezels. They're included there. Fast theme, we've already seen millions of times. It's legendary theme without crossfading as you select. It will change when you stop moving. Legends theme, that's the default. It's crossfading, full screen, HD videos. Marquee theme, that's a holdover. Marquees 2, same treatment as Cabinets 2. You got the legendary bezels included. So therefore, when you're selecting, see that? It's a beautiful touch. Again, when I was referring earlier that this is a mature build, that's one of the reasons why. All of the best of the iterations are included. Instead of patching when you can't go back, people often ask, why do you keep releasing so many builds? I believe the psychology behind it is it's better to make an entire new build, because what if you don't like this stuff and you want to stick with Legends 3? You can, but if you keep getting patches, not only do people not necessarily know how to apply them or that might go wrong, they might want to go back, and once you patched it, you can't. So, Marquee 2 we covered. Muted theme. It's legendary theme without any audio. Player theme we're very aware of. It's just legendary theme with the player bezels. Player 2, instead of the top, again, it's the right wheel. Poster theme, this is a new addition. I just want to go through this a little bit more than the demonstration video because I think it really takes a moment to appreciate this one. The center is the current, the left and right. You'll see they'll slide through. See those planes will go, and then they'll go. And then the baseballs in the middle, then they'll go to the left. So you can see the cover art coming and going on the left and right. You've got the spin on the bottom, but as soon as you pause, You go then into the full screen video with the legendary bezels. And there's also another chance to see some of this beautiful, beautiful cover artwork that are included with all the games that otherwise you might not really pay attention to in Legends builds because there's so much other beautiful artwork to stare at. So that was the poster theme. And spin themes. You've seen these before, but I'll touch on them briefly. The spin theme is up top. See that? And I love how the settings also follow the themes always. And spin 2 theme, just going to throw it down on the bottom. And it does crossfade as you go. The other thing about optimization though, oh, also one thing to look at, you can tell by default, the console games are alphabetically in here, so therefore the console split is disabled by default. That's how you can tell. Zombies Ate My Neighbors, a Super Nintendo game, is just Z in the entire all games instead of being separated into its own sections by arcade, console, what type of console, then alphabetically. All the games are alphabetically when it's disabled, the console split. All right, I digress. Okay, let's go back to, that was spin 2, vertical theme, wall theme. Everybody knows the wall theme. It's now been added to Legends 4. A lot of artwork had to be included. But again, the optimizations as well, they just keep getting better and better. Look at this. I'm scrolling. It's blurring, pulling, playing 3 videos, 3 audio, and it's fluid as I hold down the button. Look at this. Oh, I saw Fantasy Cabs too, which I absolutely love. There we go. Tilted video, like you're actually standing in front of this cabinet that never existed. Thank you, GJSM Smith, as always. All right. Wall 2 theme. This, I think BP is a big fan of this one, but, and it grows on you very quickly. It's a good look. I know Spyro Technic as well. I believe this was kind of his urging to do this, and it looks really good. It is a nice darkened arcade with the wall theme effect. So left and right. Just letting everyone absorb like you're walking down an arcade. All right. So folks, that's what it looks like. It's a MAME only build. The MAME emulator is also covering some, I always like to look near MAME only. Don't forget folks that up here under advanced configs, I can briefly go over these. Attract mode, dim, disable, and enable. Attract mode is enabled. That's where it's the screensaver, if you will, after I believe it's 20 seconds of inactivity to prevent screen burn, but also to keep interest in it. It will switch to different games. If you want it to dim while it does so, do enable. Otherwise, it's disabled by default. Auto scroll attract mode disabled. It's enabled by default. This would turn off that screensaver or attract mode function, which is enabled by default. Background music is disabled by default on Legends 4, but this is how you'd enable it. Just so folks understand, when Legends 4 Max comes out, because that has multiple emulators and Joy 2 key needs to be used for closing out non-MAME and non-RetroArch emulators, background music will not be available. Background music can only be shuffled and used when it's MAME only, because Joy 2 key fills that function in these builds. So that's why Forgotten Worlds and Legends 4 non-Max have the background music enabled or available. Bezel video size full screen and standard. This kind of confuses people. This doesn't change the actual bezel around the artwork. This will zoom in. It's also very effective because these builds are slowly being integrated to be more uniform cross-platform, say Steam Deck, Pi, Linux, etc. Therefore, some of those with a smaller screen, like the Steam Deck, you can do bezel video size full screen. It will take away the gap on the top and the bottom and zoom in a little bit so that you actually get what you would consider a full screen viewable playing area. Here's how to specifically choose which of the 6 bezels you want. Artistic were the ones that are in players and collections. Realistic are the ones that use the legendary bezels in the cabinet walls, invert games, but otherwise use artistic in horizontal games. Full screen no art was formerly known as modern. Those are the speakers, more like a big LCD flat panel, if you will, all the same bezel. Legendary day are the legendary bezels with the bright light, dusk, a slight vignette dimming on them, and then the legendary night are all three of these are legendary bezels, obviously, but what this is the amount of shading that are put on them to set the mood. Doing these, though, will not change glass effects. When you do glass and bezel together in the menu, it does more than one thing. If you want to tweak just one portion, you got to come back here to advanced configs and say, well, I like the extra bloom, but I also want bright bezels. Well, then go legendary day or go artistic, okay? So cabinet mode, this is multiple bats being run at the same time. It's disabled, but if you have a cabinet, a lot of folks don't want your coin button exiting the menu out to the Windows desktop. As well, when you're in a cabinet, you also want the shut down Windows button in part of your game selection. It's available as a GUI option, so enabling this will do both of those. They will add the shutdown Windows bat and also disable backing out of CoinOPS on your controller and or control panel. Escape on keyboard, of course, will still work. Console split, it's disabled by default, therefore all games are alphabetized regardless of system. Console split would say, do all the systems alphabetically first, and then within those systems, alphabetize the games contained therein. Default controls locked. If you are going to make any mapping changes, it's not recommended. Please wire them per the FAQ. There's plenty of information. I've covered as many boards and given as many examples as possible, at least of the most common ones. But default controls, they are locked by default. In other words, if you make any changes in MAME, it will reset them next time you get into MAME. If you are going to permanently change your controls, you need to unlock it and leave it unlocked. Make your changes and they will not be overwritten. If you make your changes and relock them, you've just wiped them out again. So understand how that works. Otherwise, there's an issue with MAME. If you don't have controls enabled, it will just default anyway. This protects all of that, or it'll show up with no controls. This is how you clear out the 75 pre-filled favorites to 0. Understand the favorites playlist will disappear until it's populated. So if all of a sudden your favorites are gone, just go use the start button and it will toggle one on. And as soon as the favorites is populated with at least one, the playlist will then show up again. Retrofee doesn't show empty playlists. Glass effects, you can disable it so there's no glass effect. You can have the reflective blur, which is the default of the reflective glass bezel option. You can have the first person, where it has kind of like 12-year-old you as a shadow standing in front of the glass there when it's reflecting, or the sharp. It'll show a sharp reflection of the glowing arcade behind you. And then this is the standard one, the scuffed glass that everybody's come to know. Playlist characters, all of these bats, these are how the playlist characters exhibit themselves on the change of playlist. You can disable them. They're enabled. If you enable them, they stay on while you're in the entire, while you're scrolling through. Auto hide long is a little bit longer than the default. It says longer. Otherwise, it's hide on move. And auto hide is the default. That's the one where after a couple seconds, it just goes away. This would cause the duration to be longer. This would keep it on. This turns it off completely. This will leave it on until you start moving within the playlist, and then it will go away. This is whether or not the quit button works. This is part of that cabinet mode. This is it by itself. If you want Quit CoinOPS to be on the keyboard and controller, or it would also be your coin button on the control panel, or if you want to just do this, make it escape on the keyboard only and take your controller or control panel's ability away of exiting CoinOPS back to the desktop. The scan line is blooming, disabled, or normal. This is where you'll see in night mode it's blooming. You can disable the scan lines completely or have the normal glow. Settings disable. This will make settings go away if you've enabled it in the menu GUI. It's not by default. You can enable it with shutdown CoinOPS, which would only, if you have the logo appear as a result of this and you click on the shutdown button, it will only exit to Windows. Whereas this one is very popular with the cabinet users. The shutdown button would be enabled and then it will shut down Windows. So it would power down your cabinet as well. Settings enable without shutdown. This would just be your settings. If you hit this, your settings playlist will go away. Settings enable without shutdown would have back to the stock. This would have the settings playlist enabled, but there'd be no shutdown button in there, okay? Turn off the settings playlist, have the settings playlist. Have the settings playlist with a shutdown button to shut your cabinet off. Have the settings enabled to have a shutdown button to go back to Windows. Splash video, obviously, if you want the warrior video at the beginning, and then press a button to enter the first, and then zero delay encoders. If you have any of the Dragon Rise, the ones that you buy on eBay, or the cheap Chinese encoders that you get that are single board that often flip and MAME and cause people enumeration problems all the time, they're worthy, they're D-input, but of course CoinOPS works best on X-input games, or X-input API. But if you have a zero delay style encoder, run this, otherwise you will get ghosting in the controls. It will scroll too far on you. It'll do double button presses. Running this bat will actually prevent that from happening. All right, folks, you've listened to me long enough. There's no README. Life got in the way. By the time Legends 4 Max comes out in the near future, I will probably do a full README with both builds included in the one. Enjoy the release. It's absolutely fantastic. It's gorgeous to look at because it brings Forgotten Worlds. It brings in Player. It gives the users so many options, and the artwork is, of course, top notch. And there's increased optimizations, and also there's increased content. So look for it soon if it's not already out. Join the CoinOPS Project Discord server. And when you get there, don't skip over the rules. Don't skip over the fact. We have so many resources that have been written out so that you can scan through them and be brought right up to speed. If you did see that, of course, you would then know that within here, in the advanced configs, fixes when not working. If you've never done it on your machine, run the DirectX 9. Even though your DX diag will say you have 12, to get the shader blooming and to get the glass effects, you need to have run DirectX 9 at least once on your machine. If you have any issues with DLLs missing, go to the all-in-one runtimes, install AllBat, and just keep clicking yes, yes, yes as it just goes through and installs all the redistributables. Those are the prerequisites. You only have to do it once on the machine. Otherwise, CoinOPS is very portable. Run it at 1920 by 1080 at 60 hertz. In MAME, it's not going to make that much of a difference, but when you get the other builds like Max, you'll get slowdowns if you're running UHD or if you're running anything. You're going to have problems. So if you have slowdowns or audio issues, check that first. Go into Windows Display and make sure that you're doing 1920 by 1080 at 60 hertz. Otherwise, folks, get on the Discord server, get all the help you want. Only download from the legitimate source. Stay away from Arcade Punks. That is not the legitimate place, and they do not support us, and they just mess builds up. So join the Discord server, and all will be revealed. All right, we'll talk to you there.